My dad was a cop for most of my life. I actually started liking law enforcement. My first base was in Germany. That was the most stressful moment in my life. And people in the military, they like to fight. I mean, that's part of why they joined the military.
Today might be the last time I walk out of this door. Hey, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of Call to Serve podcast. I am your host, Reggie Hubbard. Today I'm here with a very special guest, my boy, Nick Martin. All right, so let me tell you about Nick. Nick served faithfully 7 years in the Air Force. He has almost 4 years of civilian law enforcement experience, a father of 4 and a husband of 1. He told me any more than that, he wouldn't be here. So let me introduce y'all to Nick. Nick, what's up, bro? Welcome to the studio.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah, man, it's good to have you, bro.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, man, for sure. So I kind of gave him a little bit of the download on who you are, man. But why don't you just give us a little bit of background, man? Tell us who you are. You know, what kind of led you to serving? What's your story, man?
All right, so I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee. My dad was a cop for most of my life. And since I can remember, I've always wanted to be in the military or be in some sort of facet of law enforcement, something like that. I don't know what it is. It's always been there. It's always tugged at me. So fast forward to when I was graduating, I was trying to decide which branch to join, and I had my son with my first wife in high school. So that kind of forced me to make a decision quick. And that's kind of how I came around to the Air Force, because everyone told me, you know, that was the best quality of life for not only me, but the family. And it was a challenge in 2013. Nobody was really looking to recruit besides the Marines and the Army, I think. So it was hard to get a hold of an Air Force recruiter. And I guess that really made me want to do it more, because it was just challenging to get a hold of anybody. And I went through, I think, 2 or 3 recruiters and eventually got in. Did my 7 years, deployed to a few places, and it was eye-opening, you know, to see how the rest of the world works and how people live there. And I was security forces in the Air Force, and I chose that thinking that I would eventually cross-train over into pararescue or something. Then, you know, that takes a special type of person, and I realized that's not really me. And I actually started liking law enforcement. My first base was in Germany, in Vogelway, Germany, and over there it's heavy law enforcement. Like, you learn a lot real quick, and I just fell in love with it. You know, helping people, that was the big thing. You know, people are at the worst moments of their life, and you're the only one that can help them. So I really started to fall for law enforcement in that regard, and then when I got out, that's what I wanted to do. So I went with the police department nearby. Spent some time there. Was on SWAT there, and that was a great experience. That was fun. Then I figured I needed to move on to bigger pastures. You know, it was a small agency, so not a lot of upper movement, not a lot of like specialized units or anything like that. So that's where I'm at now, and so far I'm loving it.
Yeah, man. So, dude, that's I'm even learning something more about you, man. I didn't know that you did SWAT. Yeah. I know we talked about security forces in the Air Force. So, and what was that like when you found out that you were going to be a father for the first time? What was your walk us through that, man?
Man, that was a rough time. I think that actually set the foundation for how I react to a lot of things in life. That was the most stressful moment in my life, and it was stressful for everybody involved. I mean, my parents, both of them, funny enough, had the opposite reaction of what I thought they would have when I told them. And I don't know, man. There's nothing really prepares you for it. You just get thrown into it, and you got to figure it out. And luckily, we figured it out, me and the wife at the time. And we made it work for a long time, and I don't know. It just came. I don't want to say natural, but I just figured it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you just did what you had to do.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
It taught me a lot about responsibility. I had to grow up real quick.
Yeah. How old were you when you found out?
When we found out, I was 17.
Okay.
Yeah, a senior. Well, going into senior year.
Yeah.
So.
How was she? Like, what was her reaction? Was she like freaking out or?
Yeah, but I don't. She didn't really show it that much. You know, I think because at the time, my parents had already lived in Georgia, and I stayed back in Nashville. And I came down here to where my parents are for that summer. So I think I didn't get to see a lot of the freaking out. I think she had already gone through those emotions when she told me.
Yeah.
So I was waiting for that part. You know?
So from what I'm hearing, like your parents were kind of cool about it, or
Well, my dad was.
Your dad was.
Well, he wasn't cool about it, but his reaction was a lot more calm than I expected. Yeah.
What about her parents?
Her parents, they, again, I wasn't there for the initial shock of it for them, but they embraced it. You know, I ended up moving in with them because I was living with my grandma at the time, and I ended up moving in with them, and they took me in, you know, just like I was one of them.
Yeah,
no
man.
hard feelings. I didn't feel any animosity or none of that, you know.
Yeah, because what's done is done, right? So you can't get pregnant necessarily.
Right.
I mean, I guess there's ways, but
I think they were more grateful that, you know, I was sticking around because, you know, a lot of people they're like, I'm out, you know.
Yeah.
And I guess I had a good opportunity to do it because I was already in another state and I came back. So
would you say that having that type of support kind of paved the way for you to go into military service, or how did that?
Yeah, it helped a lot. If I didn't have both, you know, my parents and her parents, if they weren't as supportive as they were, I don't know if I would have felt right, you know, going away to basic and tech school and whatever else, you know, training and all that stuff that we had to do. I would have just tried to figure it out then. And then in 2013, it was hard to find any job, you know. A lot of people, like older people that have been in the workforce for years, were working retail jobs and fast food jobs. And, you know, a kid in high school couldn't really get anything. So it was really, I had to do that, but I needed that support home to know that my son and my wife were going to be taken care of while I was gone.
Yeah, man. I couldn't imagine having that type of responsibility at 17. Were you 17 when you enlisted?
No, I was 18. 17 that summer I found out, and then we went through senior year with the kid. We ended up getting married that year and graduated, and then I joined that following summer.
Okay, so what was that like? You know, you're 18 years old, just graduating high school. Now you're going to the military. Where was your mind at once you got on that plane or that bus? What was going on?
Man, my mind was anywhere but where it needed to be. I was not focused on the mission at hand, I guess. You know, I was thinking about my kid. I was thinking about, you know, my wife, my family. Like, did I make the right decision? You know, and you know, as you know, the goodbye at that part, you know, the unknown is scary. So
yeah,
I didn't know what was coming.
You know? Yeah, man, you definitely. I don't know how they get down in the Air Force, but I know there was a bunch of drill sergeants waiting on me when when we finally got off that bus.
Yeah.
And from then on, it was on and popping.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So basic training. So how long was that?
When I went in, it was 8.5 weeks.
Okay. And then you go to a tech school, which is pretty much for you to get MOSQ'd.
Yeah. It's the RAIT.
Yeah. And how long was that?
See, that was, I think, 3 months. Yeah, sounds about right. 3 months.
Yeah. So okay. because this is really cool because now I'm getting getting the inside scoop right now because I don't have a lot of Air Force friends. You know,
Right.
The Air Force people that I know, a lot of them are either like linguists or going in intelligence fields or something else.
One of those good jobs.
I mean, I'm not saying any job is better than the other. But you know, one of those jobs where I can't really talk about it, or I'm like, bro, I know you got a security clearance,
Right.
but come on, like,
Right.
your clearance ain't that high, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
We all got secret.
yeah, we you at least, bro.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So, yeah, man. So, where you say your mind kind of was, you know, from the beginning versus once you graduated tech school, did you recognize anything different about you?
Yeah. I would say I was already kind of disciplined, but not to the level I am today and at that time. And like I said before, like my mind was not focused on where it needed to be, you know, at the mission at hand. I was, you know, anywhere but here. And once I got done with all that training, I think and I didn't realize this until I was done, that they really taught me how to laser focus on what's important right now, get that done, and then move on to the next task.
What's important now? That's something that in law enforcement we hear a lot, actually, especially when it comes to prioritizing tasks
Right.
in crisis situations. Dang. All right, bro. So once you got done with tech school, I'm assuming you had a graduation, right? Did family show up and show some love, or?
Yeah.
Yep.
They were there. Yep. Both the in-laws and my mom.
Yep.
And
What did that feel like?
man, that was awesome. That was the first time in my life I think that was like my biggest accomplishment, you know. That was the biggest hurdle to climb at that point. And, you know, I thought having my son, you know, that was a huge obstacle, but I think having him, that made me graduating so much better because, you know, I'm doing it not only for me, but for him and the family. Something he can be proud of, something that he can look up to. So I think that was the biggest thing for me, is it wasn't all about me anymore. And I felt pride for the whole family unit.
Yeah, that's good, bro. That's dope. All right, so in transitioning into law enforcement on the civilian sector. So I know a lot of people can have difficulty transitioning from military into the civilian world. It's a natural thing, right? It was kind of difficult for me, but everybody has their own different experience. What was yours like?
Yeah, mine wasn't easy either. And it was weird at the beginning. It was great. You know, I thought, oh, this was the right move. This is where I need to be. I'm doing everything right. And then we go in maybe 3 months after I got out. I was thinking, man, I was so ready to get out. I was so focused on being done that I didn't realize that maybe I was in the spot, you know. And it's hard to start over. Like I got out as an E5, you know, and I had troops and I was managing scenes and stuff. And then I get out and now I'm the low man on the totem pole. And at first I was like, you know, that'd be great. I don't have the responsibility of running things. But then it became like, man, I don't know if I would make that decision, but I had to go with it anyway because I'm not the one in charge, you know. And then you kind of miss the camaraderie. I don't know if it was the same for you. I mean, law enforcement, luckily, there's still that there a little bit, but it's nothing like in the military.
Yeah.
My experience. So I struggled with that for a while. And I guess even today, I look back on it and I'm like, you know, what if I stayed in, you know? So it's always going to be a part of you. I think even the people that do 20 years are going to look back and say, man, I wish I didn't get out, you know? But I think overall is probably the best move for me. It's not that way for everybody, but it's working out. So
Yeah, I mean, definitely camaraderie is a huge aspect in the military. You know, because at the end of the day, man, like, dude, you're traveling all around the world together.
yeah,
You know, you're getting deployed all around the world, and you're going to nations where you're essentially the guest.
yeah,
And if crap hits the fan, bro, you're all you got.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
So, and it's the same aspect here in law enforcement, but this is home. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's a little bit of a different dynamic,
yeah,
for sure. And that is one of the things that I do miss about the military is it's one of those things like if you know, you had to be there,
right.
or it won't make sense to you, or you can't relate, or, it's just a special bond that very few people, a very few percentage of people are going to ever get a chance to experience.
Yeah, it's hard to describe. It's just it's just with you. It's just the feeling you have.
Yeah.
It's hard to put in words like and some people say trauma bond, and I think that might be true in some cases, but I think it's a different world. There's nothing like it. You're not going to find it anywhere else.
Yeah. I mean, you're essentially, when you go to the military, and the process is you go in as a civilian, right? Mm. And then you undergo a process, and mostly all of that, everything that you learned or who you were essentially stripped away from you.
Yeah.
And you're molded into a military weapon.
Yeah. Yeah. I was telling somebody, I think it was one of the teachers at my school and she was talking about, the melding of people and the melting pot of America. And I said, you really don't see it as much as you would if you joined the military. Because you come in and you have people from all walks of life, people that don't think anything like you, and you get together and then you become one. It's not about the diversity, and it is diverse, but that's kind of like pulled away. That's in the back of your mind. You don't even think about it because it doesn't matter. Like, you're just another human being that we have a mission to do, and you just become like one unit. I mean, it's true what they say, it's as cliche it might sound, but a bunch of individuals become just one machine.
Yeah. Because you have to.
Yeah.
Because it becomes mission essential. Right. And then, really at the end of the day, it's like you're only as strong as your weakest link.
Right.
And when it comes to survival, you better not be the the weakest link.
Yeah.
Link is weak. And that's that, man. So it's all good, man. And I think, but military, there's some crappy stuff that happens too. There's some bad experiences, you know. Leadership's not always the best leadership.
That's right.
There's favoritism. There's, don't see it often, but I'm sure there's nepotism also. People don't really talk about those type of things. Like,
that's why I had a job. The security forces, the law enforcement aspect of it. There's bad people anywhere you go, any job, any location. You've got the bad actors. You got the toxic people. You just have to. You got to know how to manage it, and you got to have people that know how to manage it, which is where security forces, law enforcement, and stuff like that comes into play.
Yeah, and there's a different dynamic to that too. Because people are like, okay, well, yeah, I mean, pretty much you were a cop in the military. Well, let's think about it this way. Out here, it's a little bit different because mostly we're dealing with civilians. When you are security forces, military police, you got to think about it this way. You are dealing with people who are trained to kill. Mm-hmm. Everybody went through basic. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. Everyone, has gone through some type of transformation. Mm-hmm. The dynamics are a little different.
And the big thing is people in the military, they like to fight. I mean, that's part of why they join the military. And even if they didn't like to fight before, they get that warrior mindset, and alcohol plays a key role there, and being around their buddies. And that's what happened a lot in Germany. Everybody start drinking and they're around their buddies. And as well as, I mean, in all branches, I think, military, police, security forces, master at arms, they're not the favorites of anybody. I mean, just kind of like civilian law enforcement, people don't like the police. It's just how it is. And they really don't like us in the military, and they want to fight. Because a lot of times they can, I don't want to say get away with it, but the repercussions aren't the same as they are in the civilian world.
Yeah.
So it's left up to the commander what happens from there. So if you have a commander that doesn't like us either, and then you get in trouble for fighting with security forces or MPs, then you might just get a slap on the wrist,
Yeah. And, people don't, you hit it right, the nail right on the head. A lot of people don't like the police. And those same people, they don't like us until they need us.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And I've always thought about it, man, like, why? Why don't people like the police? And in my opinion, right, I think about what is it that people desire the most out of anything? What is it that people will fight to the death for above anything else? I'm not talking about love. I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about freedom. And I think there's some type of connection there, because you as a law enforcement official or professional, you essentially have the authority, and given the right circumstances, to take their freedom.
Yeah, I think that's it. And I think, especially today with how media is and how fast it is, and how widespread it is, I think that can play a role too, because, the guy that already doesn't want his freedom taken away, he may be fine until he sees, video after video after video of police taking people's freedom away. And then you got the bad videos of the bad cops, or the ones that make the wrong decision. And that's going through their mind all the time, because it's always being played every time. That's why I just stopped watching the news, because it's all the time. So these people just already have that notion in their mind that something bad's going to happen, instead of this could turn out to be fine. Just like, as you know, most of our encounters are fine. They turn out great.
Yeah. And I think a big part of that is why a lot of people automatically assume that the encounter is going to be bad, is because maybe they don't see us as people.
I agree.
The uniform has this way of dehumanizing us. And because of what's seen on the media, because of what is played on social media and what people hear, they can't necessarily see past the badge and the gun.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that's a tough pill to swallow. And I think that's why, one, I definitely appreciate you stepping up and coming out here and sharing some of your story, because I think this is what people need to see. They need to see, you know what? Nick is not just a law enforcement professional. He's also a husband. He's also a father. He's also a veteran. He's also an aspiring entrepreneur, right? Mm-hmm. He's also a friend.
That's right.
So I think if we as law enforcement professionals were more active in our communities outside of the uniform, that will make a huge impact on the perception of law enforcement.
Yeah, I think so.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think it also goes to, how they train us a lot of times as worst case scenario, which is, you need to train for that, but that becomes like the sole focus. When I had troops that were coming out, security forces, tech school, or, new people coming in the civilian police world, that's automatically where their mind goes to. And I don't think that needs to be the first thing. And it definitely needs to be trained on. Don't get me wrong. But I think they also need to talk about there's other things you can do that's proactive that helps the image of law enforcement and helps the community. For example, one time I was patrolling at my last agency, and this car seemed like it was trying to dodge me. It was trying to duck out, and it turned into this neighborhood where we have a lot of issues. So, I followed him in there, and I was staying back to see what they're up to, and he was just driving real slow, like he was, I don't know, lost or looking for something. He would stop at each house, look at it, and we had a lot of issues in that neighborhood and lots of break-ins. So I ended up, I didn't do the whole, stop him, get out of the car, and like go into the worst mindset. I just talked to him like he was another person. I just pulled up to him and said, "Hey, you lost?" And he's like, "No, I'm not really lost. I don't know where to go." And long story short, we ended up talking for an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, and he never said it, but I had a feeling that maybe he was going to commit suicide or hurt somebody else, because he had a whole bunch of stuff. He told me all the stuff that was going on with his life, and he lost a fiance and all this crazy stuff that just all at once for him. So his world was crashing down, and the big part of it is he told me that it seemed like no one cared, because he was losing everybody, and then he would try to talk to family members and they would just blow him off. But this random guy in a patrol car started talking to him, and that's what he needed, because he talked most of the time. I just listened to him.
Yeah.
And he just went on and on and on. And then at the end of it, he thanked me, and it's like, he looked me straight in the face and said, you don't know how much this helped me tonight. And that's why I think he was looking for a place to commit suicide or something. And he seemed like you could just see it, like from the first time I started talking to him to the end, like the whole his whole personality changed. So I hope that I did, save him or save someone else. Like I said, I don't know if he was planning on doing something harmful to someone else but just that alone, not going to the worst case scenario. Oh, he's breaking into cars, just talking to him like it's human. Say, hey, what's going on? Like, do you need help? That's what I'm here to do, is help. And part of that is taking people to jail when it needs to happen. But that's not, for me, that's not priority. That's not my first goal.
Right. Man, that's powerful, man. And I think maybe most law enforcement would have been like, all right, man, like, what you got going on? I'm not going to sit here and talk to this guy for an hour and a half or whatever, and listen to his sob stories. Because we're kind of, in a way, we're kind of
desensitized.
Yeah. That's a great word, desensitized. Mm-hmm. And I take that model, man. It's like, now don't get me wrong, I got a firm model, bro. Like, in God I trust, everyone else I verify 100%. Mm-hmm. You ain't getting in my car until I know who you are, what you about. I ain't giving you no ride unless I know who you are and what you about. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. But I think it's important to talk to people as people. We've been taught to treat people the way that you want to be treated. Mm-hmm. How about let's treat people the way they want to be treated?
Yeah, I like that.
Mm-hmm. Because you are different than any person that you'll ever encounter.
Yeah. Yeah, if I was that guy, I wouldn't want anybody to talk to me, and probably at that moment. Yeah. But obviously he needed somebody, and that's completely different from my personality when I'm in that headspace that he was in.
Yeah. And that one encounter, man, could have potentially saved his life, could have potentially saved someone else's life, could have completely altered his total perception of law enforcement. Because maybe he did see you in his rearview mirror. And maybe his natural instinct was to duck off because the media has a way of portraying us as foes.
Yeah.
That's why when a parent comes up to me and it's like, tries to bring their kid and say, hey, you better behave or I'm going to have them take you to jail. I'm like, yo, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
I can't stand that.
Let's not teach our kids to be afraid of officers, to run away from us.
Right.
You should teach your children to run to us.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the midst of it all, when crap hits the fan, we're the one running towards the crap.
Yeah. I mean, have you seen the videos of New Orleans when that guy drove through the crowd and there's a surveillance footage of I think it's like a handful of cops, 4 or 5 of them. They're just standing there talking, and you can see the moment they get the call, and no hesitation, they just take off. They don't know what they're getting into.
Yeah.
You know? And you and I both have probably been in that same situation where we're just going to something. I mean, it sounds bad. We don't know exactly what it is, but we'll figure it out when we get there.
Yeah. That's a very real reality that we live with every day. We make a decision every single day to put on our uniform, and we have to be okay with, you know what, today might be the last time I walk out of this door.
Yeah.
Today might be the last time that my family sees me.
That's right.
And I think it takes a very special kind of person to do that and to do that faithfully.
I think that's why we're seeing a decline and people want to do the job. I mean, because you go through that every day. Even if you don't actively think about that, it's in the back of your mind. And people don't want to put up with that, with the way they're being portrayed. And, like that encounter I had with that guy, that was nobody knew about that. Only me and now you and whoever watches this podcast and that guy. But sergeants didn't even know about it. Nobody. And there's a bunch of those encounters, not only with me or you, but all across the nation, all across the world, really. And the only thing that's getting played is the bad stuff. And then you go in day out thinking this could be it, but you're trying your best. You're talking to the guy for 2 hours. You're running into the danger when you have no idea what's on the other side of the door. And all people see you as is bad.
Yeah.
It weighs on you. It gets to you.
Yeah. I used to work for an agency and it was rough, man. It was like hell on earth, bro. And I remember I arrested this guy and I just happened to run into him in civilian clothes. I was with my family.
No.
I was with my wife, and we have codes and stuff like that, to where we have code words so you know what to do. And this dude walks up to me. He's like, "Oh man, you ain't got that uniform on now. You ain't think I'll recognize you? This and that. You ain't got that badge on now. That badge can't protect you now." And I looked at this dude, and I said, "Bro, that's where you got it wrong. This badge don't protect me, dog. It protects you."
That's right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you want to do this in front of my family, if you feeling froggy, then leap. But I guarantee you, bro, before you end up back in jail, you're gonna take a trip to Grady.
Yeah. That's a thing a lot of people don't realize. I think some people do know it. The ones that like to talk a lot is, we have one arm tied behind our back most of the time. We have rules to follow. Criminals don't.
Yeah. So it's like, this badge protects you, right? Your constitutional rights, right? Your freedoms. It don't protect me. I get held accountable just like anyone else. If anything, we get held more accountable than anyone else.
Yeah.
We're under way more scrutiny than the average person because there's more expected of us.
Yeah. I mean, even when you're in civilian clothes and something goes down, you get arrested or something, that it's not, Reggie or Nick got arrested. It's,
so-and-so deputy, so-and-so officer, sworn, blah, 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 violated oath of office, doing this, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's to a whole different degree, so that's why it's so important that we govern our actions accordingly, as law enforcement professionals. And we're people. Yeah, we make mistakes, but own up to those mistakes and don't lie about them.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing.
That's career suicide right there.
Yeah.
You can probably come back from almost anything, but you can't come back from lying and getting that untruthfulness, bro. It's a wrap. It's a done deal after that.
Find a new career.
Yeah, man. So, bro, let's jump into family life, man. Like, talk to me about, or share what you want about your family, man. What's the family dynamic, as far as, how they respond to you being law enforcement? What's that work-life balance kind of like?
So they got used to it. At first, it was hard. Like I said, I had my son early on with my first marriage, and then we ended up having a daughter. And at that time, I was in the military, and we still had the same shift work, 12-hour shifts or whatever it was at the time. And it's hard for little kids to understand why, daddy's leaving at different times and why he's gone so long, especially deployments. That was real hard. And but like I said, they got used to it, and I think the pride that they had, I think that helped with any of the negative feelings they had towards it. And especially my son, having somebody to look up to that wasn't just getting by, that was trying his best to change himself and change the community. I think that does something for him, because that was when he was little, he was seeing all this. And today, he's the nicest kid you'll meet, and that's all he cares about, is making other people happy and making sure they're taken care of. Even his sisters, he got 3 little sisters, and they're his world. He's always wanted to take care of them. But yeah, moving on to when I got out and I was a civilian cop, it's kind of the same. But I think maybe they felt like it was more dangerous. And I think as people have that misconception of military police, that, we don't do anything. And that's true in some cases, some bases and some missions. It's like that in the military. Sometimes you have cool missions, sometimes you don't.
Long stretches are boring sometimes.
Yeah, but, as I've come to find out in civilian law enforcement, it's a lot of the same. There's times where you can go a month and nothing really happens, and then the next month, everything's happened all at once, back to back. But like I said, they got used to it, and my 2 younger ones now, with my current amazing wife, they're too young to really know what's going on. But my wife, she is a nurse, so she gets it, and I think she gets it more than the last one. She understands the shift work. She understands the stress of the job. She understands the traumatic stuff that we can go through and see. So she's amazing when it comes to the support and stuff, because, like I said, she gets it. She doesn't push too much. And the little ones, that my 2-year-old, she's starting to understand that I have weird schedules, but she's getting used to it too.
Man, that's awesome, bro. Thanks for sharing that. So, what do you like to do for fun?
So my current hobby is, I guess, light gunsmithing, as I like to call it, is I don't have the material or the tools to do, like make a barrel or something.
Gotcha.
But putting together guns and caring for them, replacing parts. Like we have an old squirrel rifle. It's a 22 bolt action, and I'm restoring that because it's probably 30, 40 years old. So, stripping off the bluing and re-bluing it, and any rust spots, taking care of that. And the stock's cracked, so I'm working on fixing the stock and then restain it and all that stuff. And I think it's just because it occupies my mind so much, and I like doing stuff with my hands, and it does both for me. That's become my, like, when I have a chance, that's it for me. That's my world.
That's pretty dope, man.
Yeah.
So my man likes guns. Go figure.
Yeah, that's right.
Likes the guns. That's cool, man. That's a very very particular skill set to have.
Yeah.
Not everybody has the patience and like the tenacity to be able to do something like that.
Yeah, and then the trial and error.
Yeah.
A lot of failing that you learn from.
Yeah. Man, that's dope, bro. Thanks for sharing that, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So what kind of advice would you give to someone who, let's just say maybe a young father who may be in high school and just found out he's going to be a dad and just trying to figure out the next step?
I guess I have a lot to say. But I think the best advice I can give is don't give up. Keep pushing through. And I know that sounds cliche, but that's really what it is. I mean, you just got to keep pushing through it. Like I said earlier, focus on what's important now. And remember, you're not number one anymore. It's your family comes first. That's, and everybody's morals may be different or how they're brought up. But for me, that's the job of the dad, the husband, is to provide and care for that family. So you come last, your wife, girlfriend, fiance, and your child, their needs come first. So do what you need to do to take care of them, and you'll take care of yourself. It'll just come after you take care of your family.
Yeah, man. You got to have that you first mentality, because at the end of the day, it's your responsibility.
Yeah. And I would also add to it, something my dad told me is a lot of people use emotion to make decisions, and whether it's consciously or subconsciously, as a dad, as a husband, you got to take the emotion completely out of it, and you got to think logically. What's logically best for the family to move you forward, to get past whatever obstacle you have. It may not feel good. You may not like it. It may be, it may not be good for you, but good for them. But logically, is that the right choice? And do that.
So you got to put the emotions to the side and think logically.
Yeah. Something I learned in law enforcement too. I've told it to people. Think of your emotions are really anger. Is what I usually used it for. But your emotions, think about you as a pot of water, and your emotions are the heat. Well, you can't see through that water when it's boiling. So if you cut off the heat or your emotions, you can see clearly and make the right decision. That's another way to put it, I guess.
Yeah, man. Talk more about that.
So it's hard to do that. You have to really consciously put your emotions to the side, especially at the beginning. And then once you do it a couple times, it just becomes natural where, that something bad happens or something that really gets to you, gets under your skin, and you might have to step back. You might have to have an outlet, something to take those emotions completely out of it, because every single time, and everybody can do this, you look back on your life, even when you're a child, when you made a bad decision or you got in trouble for something, what was the driving force behind it? You were mad. You were sad. There's always an emotion involved with it, and not your brain, not just thinking logically, if I do this, this will probably happen.
Yeah. That's real in law enforcement, man. Can't bring your personal feelings into it. No. You know what I'm saying?
That's when people make wrong decisions.
Well, listen, I do have one question for you, man, before we let you get out of here. What's something that people will be surprised to find out about you?
I'm an ordained minister.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I did not know that, bro. That's what's up.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've had 2 people that I've wedded. So
okay.
I've officiated 2 weddings.
That's what's up, man. I say
2 people, but 4 people, 2 couples.
A man of the badge, man of the cloth. That's what I'm talking about, bro.
Yeah, the first one, actually, that was one of my troops, and it was at the smoke pit. That's what he wanted, so that's what we did.
That is awesome, man. That is awesome, man. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
You know, I definitely, it looks like we're coming up on time here, but before we let you go, man, there's something I wanted to give you. This is our custom Call to Serve podcast challenge coin that we have minted. And, you know, on the back of it has our slogan that says serving those who serve others. And I just want, every time you see that, man, whatever you do with it, I want it to be a reminder of you making a choice every single day to put others first, to put yourself last, because that's exactly what you do. That's exactly what you've been doing your whole adult life. It's putting the needs of others first. And it's people like you who are the reason why I founded Call to Serve podcast, so that we can highlight the everyday heroes and highlight their stories. So we definitely appreciate you, bro. Thank you so much for coming through, man. Yeah. Got to get you to come back sometime, man, for sure. and chop it up for sure, man. But yeah, man, before we go, is there anything you'd like to say?
No, I think I covered it up. Hopefully you'll be back and we can talk about more.
Let's go, bro. We'll
get some more stories.
Well, thanks, man. Thanks for coming through, bro. Until next time.
All right, man. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir.